producer with nothing to lose. McKnight Tonight, McKnight Tonight, McKnight Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to McKnight Tonight for this Thursday, the 5th of February. And yes, it's Tipsy Thursday. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I have got the Maker's Mark tonight, so that's what I'm having. And Amanda, maybe on a camera 2 there, adding the Coke, because I drink it fast, Amanda, don't I? And so it's probably better if while I'm doing the show I dilute it a little bit. When we a while ago we did our Studio 10 special event at Bankstown, Blacktown RSL, and I was having a wild turkey with Coke, and the woman said, "Tell me when." And as she was pouring it, she got to a point and she goes, "Well, you drowned it." I've always remembered that. Oh, goodness me. Anyway, cheers everyone to Tipsy Thursday. Let me know what you're drinking. Cheers, Amanda. And you can let me know what you're drinking on our YouTube page. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnight and join the conversation. And if you've never joined the conversation, maybe tonight's your night. Let us know your thoughts on the topics of the day, because your opinions, they matter. And I like having that hustle and bustle. I still haven't managed to have a sip yet because I keep talking. Let's take a moment. Oh, yeah. All right. So a lot happening in the world, but let me tell you what's coming up on tonight's show, because a landmark ruling that goes right to the heart of privacy versus safety, and it's a win of sorts for Bunnings. Then a political shake-up that could completely redraw the map in Canberra, but it looks like the Nats won't and don't want to do a deal with Pauline Hanson. Plus, in Rob's Rant, a jaw-dropping moment on Real Time with Bill Maher with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just wait till you see this. There's a lot to discuss about this. And later, the truth about Married at First Sight. A former producer spills the tea on manipulation, editing tricks, villains, heroes, the lot, and just how far reality TV will go before someone gets seriously hurt. That's all coming up tonight, so pour yourself something if that's your thing. Certainly mine. And let's get into it. Tonight, a major win for big retail and a significant moment in Australia's privacy debate. Bunnings has defeated Australia's privacy watchdog in a landmark ruling over its use of facial recognition technology inside its stores. The decision comes from the Administrative Review Tribunal, which found the retailer was justified in deploying the technology to deal with what it described as a very real and serious problem: violence, abuse, and repeat theft targeting staff and customers. The tribunal accepted evidence that Bunnings, owned by Wesfarmers, was facing persistent retail crime across dozens of stores, with repeat offenders responsible for a significant share of theft and violent incidences. Under the system, facial images of customers entering stores were briefly scanned and compared against a database of known problem offenders. Offenders like this, I mean, some of the stuff these people have had to put up with is outrageous. Now, if there was no match, the data was discarded almost instantly. If there was a match, an alert was sent to staff, allowing them to monitor or intervene before another incident occurred. The tribunal ruled Bunnings met the legal threshold to suspect unlawful activity and reasonably believed collecting that sensitive information could help protect staff, customers, and property.
Keeping our team, customers and suppliers safe in and around our stores is our number one priority. Between November 2018 and November 2021, we trialled the use of facial recognition technology, or FRT. This was a limited trial in 63 stores across Victoria and New South Wales, and we used it with the sole and clear intent of keeping our team and our customers safe and preventing unlawful activity by repeat offenders.
Now, while Bunnings had something of a win here, it wasn't a clean sweep. While the technology itself was allowed, the tribunal found Bunnings failed on transparency, ruling the company did not properly inform customers about the collection of facial data between 2018 and 2021 in up to 62 stores. In other words, the why passed the test, but the how it was explained didn't. The tribunal concluded the privacy impact was not disproportionate when weighed against the benefits of a safer retail environment, but made it clear that privacy obligations still apply, even when crime prevention is the goal. Funnily enough, I spoke about this topic in the pilot episode of McKnight Tonight late last year. Here's what I said at the time. While I do believe in the right to privacy, when you enter a store, you're on their property. Security cameras are everywhere anyway. It's an accepted part of life. How is this any different? And if it helps protect staff from these thugs, I am all for it. Me too. It's a really simple equation here, isn't it? The fact is, we saw some of that vision where people were going in, attacking the workers at Bunnings. Could we play that again, please, Amanda, if you can find it? This is what we're talking about. Look at the way the staff at Bunnings are accosted like that. That is outrageous. I mean, the gun thing is a whole nother level. But what we're talking about here is providing a safer work environment for customers and for workers. Now, look, the only thing I feel that Bunnings needed to do was actually put a sign up saying you may be filmed and your data and your face collected while in our stores. It's their property. They can do that. They just need to tell customers. And if they do that, then they can use facial technology as much as they like. I'm a big believer in privacy. I don't like governments being able to go through my private direct messages to people in my social media and all that kind of stuff. I think it should have the same protections as a letter I post to someone else. But when you're in someone else's store, in a company, in a business, and they're trying to protect people, I don't have a problem being filmed. I choose to go in that store. As long as they let me know it's happening, then it's fine and I can live with it.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Okay, let me know your thoughts by going to youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. I'd really like to know what you think of that one, and I'd also like to know what you think of this one, because a new poll just released confirms that One Nation has become a powerhouse party in Australian politics. In fact, a Roy Morgan poll released this week shows One Nation on a huge 25% primary vote, with the Libs languishing behind on 18%. Labor is still in front on 30.5%. Now, the figures I'm looking at are the late February figures at the end there. You can see the trend as we go from December 25 through to January, through to late January, and now that should actually say early February. I've made a bit of a mistake there because we're not in late February at the moment. So I think that might be a bit of a typo on my part. Excuse me. Anyway, moving on, you get the point. Now, One Nation is on the rise with the coalition in tatters, and Chris Kenny at Sky News asked Pauline Hanson about the possibility of her party teaming up with the Liberal and National parties.
Would you be in a position now to suggest that when you talk about possible governance, that you would be interested in being involved in a coalition government with the Nationals and the Liberals?
Of course. That's the only way to move forward, because I'm not going to be government, and either is, by the looks of it, either is the coalition or the National Party. So the fact is that I am a Conservative at heart, and I would work with them to give them supply. Would I join up to the rabble that they are at the moment? No way in the wide world. But I have my strong policies that we need, because they're doing nothing to address the important issues that the Australian people want.
It's very pragmatic by Pauline Hanson there, knowing that she won't have the numbers to form government in her own right, and so she would need to team up with another party, whether it's the Liberals, the Nationals, or both. And it's an interesting thing that Labor holds such power that it's possible 3 parties would have to join forces to beat them, even though there's a lot of outrage about the cost of living, housing crisis, and everything else that's going on at the moment. But what's interesting here is David Littleproud was asked about this idea this morning on Sky News. Now, take a look at how he really didn't want to answer the question from Laura Jace.
So, do you like that offer?
Oh, look, the National Party has been true to our values and principles for over 100 years. We'll continue to do that. That's been proof in the results of our election results over the last 3 or 4 elections that we've held on to our seats.
That wasn't the question.
Won a miracle seat in Bendigo with a double-digit swing to us when the rest of the coalition vote was tanking.
Let's move on. Well, he answered the question. Still hasn't answered the question. Let's see what happens when we get to the end of this answer.
And with respect through this whole process.
One Nation, though, could One Nation be part of a coalition, an agreement for supply in order to form government, given where their polling's at the moment?
Yeah, and considering where we are in terms of the electoral cycle, I think everyone just needs to take a cold shower, focus on working out who they are and what they are. The National Party knows it explicitly who we are. I think a lot of this is just a little bit of entertainment rather than let's just work calmly and constructively to make sure that we are able to articulate and hopefully one day in the near future get back as a coalition. That's my intent, but I don't intend to let the National Party become a faction of the Liberal Party, and I don't think the Liberal Party would want us anyway. It has worked well because we've been able to, on some issues, have different values and principles, and that's okay.
That was not the question. Can you just answer the bloody question? She's asking whether you would be open to One Nation being part of the coalition. She wasn't asking about your talking points that you've got there of talking about your involvement with the Liberals to form a coalition, which you've walked away from twice. Luckily, Laura's not done yet.
But what about your future relationship with One Nation? Would you consider some kind of deal, whether it's just confidence and supply? I mean, as Pauline Hanson said last night, she's a conservative at heart. It's not like you're poles apart on your ideological values. Why wouldn't you consider such a deal, David?
Well, I think we're talking about a hypothetical some 2 years into the distance. Let's just calmly focus on ourselves and make sure that we can work out who we are so that we can say to the Australian people, we can put in front of you a clear proposition that you can see and have faith and trust in. I think the National Party's demonstrated that.
Our electoral... Then it would be your preference to sideline One Nation. It would be your preference to deal with the Liberals and not have to deal with One Nation. Is that right?
Well, again, I don't work in hypotheticals that will be 2 years down the track. What I'm saying is that the National Party knows who we are. We are putting that in front of the Australian people, and we've done that and haven't lost a seat since 2007 because we know who we are and what we represent. And what we want to do is to be able to get rid of Anthony Albanese. Now, what happens in 2 years' time, I don't intend to engage in running commentary on because all it does is add to the mystique and to the hyperbole of Canberra. Let's just be calm, considered,
yeah, sure.
and work
but the
through the
mystique
issues
and
that we've got at the
hyperbole
moment.
that is coming out of Canberra, I mean, you're playing your role in that. Can I put it to you that you don't want to even entertain the idea of being involved in any kind of coalition with Pauline Hanson, because that would signal to your voters that they can vote for One Nation and perhaps be a party of government?
Well, we actually take anyone that runs against the National Party seriously as a threat, and they are trying to take away the National Party's voice in Parliament, represent the people that we've been able to achieve so much for. So this is why, engaging in this sort of hypothetical nature does nothing other than to play into a political narrative that is only a hypothetical. The reality is anyone that runs against the National Party is a threat to the National Party.
But it's not a hypothetical. One Nation is above the coalition. Can we have a look at those figures again, please? Now, barring except the fact we say late Feb there instead of early Feb, let's look at the trend here. The Nationals have gone from 3.5% in December to 3% to 2.5%, and they've held from late Jan to early February. The Liberal Party have gone from 23 down to 21, down to 20, down to 18. One Nation has gone from 15.5 to 21.5 to 22.5 to 25%. Now, this isn't some poll out of nowhere. This is Roy Morgan. And other polls, news poll, have all followed this trend. This is not a hypothetical scenario. At the moment, Pauline Hanson's One Nation is a much bigger political force than the Liberal Party and the National Party combined. And there is no coalition at the moment. Now, I understand he's scared and he doesn't want to talk to it because he may have to go hand in cap to Pauline Hanson and try to do a deal. But he certainly does not like the idea of giving One Nation any legitimacy. He may not want to do it, but the Australian public are doing it. So he has to own up to it. I hate this. I don't work in hypotheticals. Politicians work in hypotheticals every single day of their life. What would happen if we did this? What would happen if we do that? How can we get the electorate? It's just complete BS. And good on Laura J's there. Seriously, he kept avoiding the Pauline Hanson question. She kept bringing him back to it. That was good journalism. That was good interviewing. We need more of it in Australian politics. And this is the big problem we have in breakfast TV. The hosts will ask something, and because it's so short, the politician will just come on and give, these are the talking points. Well, this is the question you should be answering. I mean, she literally asked about Pauline Hanson, and he talked about the relationship with the Liberal Party, which wasn't the question. Pauline Hanson's about to have a lot of power in this country. And I mean, a lot can happen in 2 years. And when people come to the ballot box, they may not be able to put their number next to Pauline. I don't know. But right now they're enjoying, the people going in these polls are enjoying giving the Liberals and Nationals a bit of a scare. One Nation, if it keeps this up, things are really going to change in 28.
The best place to watch McKnight Tonight is on YouTube. Help us monetize the show by going to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. And you can always become a paid member. That gives you exclusive live streams and early access to videos. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Oh, boy. I don't think I've been ranty enough tonight. Maybe we need to do this. Now, I was watching the latest episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. It's a political topics discussion show. And there was something said by Marjorie Taylor Greene I'd really like to talk about. Here she is debating TV host and former Republican representative, now independent, Joe Scarborough.
And you're starting to see these states that had eradicated these diseases now have rise up again, like measles.
Potential links to autism.
Not really.
That actually,
No.
a lot of parents think that it is linked, and they have been ignored for a very long time. And I think it's such a sad case. This is something that really needs to be studied.
Well, it has been studied for 30 years, and I would say I was a lawyer. I was an attorney. I talked to RFK Jr. I have a son who's on the spectrum. I had questions in the early 2000s about this. There have been so many studies. There's been one study after another study after another study that does not link autism to vaccines. It just doesn't.
I think there's people that would argue with you. There are many parents that link it to vaccines, and I really think it's up to the parents.
It's an interesting thing to me that we're putting what people think above the science. Now, parents absolutely have the right to determine what treatments they give their kids. But you've got Joe there talking about the science. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that what people think is more important. And that's become the whole problem with politics in general. The facts don't seem to matter anymore. Now, I think there are questions with some vaccines. I think the COVID vaccine, we were sold a bit of a pup. We were all told to take it. It was rushed through and we were told it's a vaccine. Now, I don't know if I'm stupid, Amanda, but to me, a vaccine means it stops people from getting it. You know, the measles vaccine literally stopped people from getting measles. The COVID vaccine didn't. Apparently, it minimized the consequences of it, the what happened to people. To me, that's not a vaccine. And how do we know? I think there's many questions to be raised, legitimate questions about the COVID vaccine and how it was rushed out and given to everyone. I'm not a conspiracy theory who thinks it was all nanobots and Bill Gates was implanting us and stuff like that. But when we're talking about proven vaccines that we've had for decades, and we have had the science to back up their effects, I'm sorry, that's not more important than what people think. But that's the politics of today. Facts don't matter. And that worries me. In fact, I've been playing with this idea of showing you a video. There's a YouTube channel called The Necessary Conversation. And basically there's two adults, but they're younger. They're like 20s or 30s. A brother and sister who are left-leaning, and they have a conversation with their parents who are older and are MAGA supporters. And while the mum is open to discussions, she still sides with MAGA. And even when facts are presented to the dad, he won't hear it. He will defend Trump to the ends of the earth, to the point where Trump once said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and people wouldn't care. This guy wouldn't care. So how do you talk to people when facts don't matter? When it's feelings and opinions? How do you have a conversation with that? Whatever the topic. Like, I don't get it. Sometimes I see the facts and facts will change my mind. But other people, they're just so, no, I've made my decision and I will follow this to the ends of the earth. I mean, on a side note, Marjorie Taylor Greene's fascinating. She was the MAGA loudhorn. She was conspiracy theorist. And now that she's turned her back on MAGA, she's left the Republican Party and she's appearing on Bill Maher and all these other shows. And she's sort of almost becoming a darling of the left because she's going against Trump. Maybe it's a case of my enemy's enemy is my friend. I don't know. But facts, I want to say this loud and clearly. Feelings don't trump facts. I didn't mean to use Trump there. Feelings don't beat facts. That's Rob's rant. Amanda asked me if I was going to do a plug for the store tonight. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But if you want a McKnight Tonight cap or a T-shirt or any of that kind of stuff, just go to McKnightTonight.myshopify.com. And don't forget to get your McKnight Tonight mug. And what else have we got? Yeah, there's your McKnight Tonight mug. See, I've got the old one. I'd like one of those spiffy new ones. We've got the travel mugs. You could put a bit of bourbon in that. No one would ever know. Or the water bottle. You could put bourbon in that. And the T-shirts, the McKnight Tonight T-shirts. I'll get one in the right colour. And there's the water bottle again. And there's the white version of the hat. They're pretty spiffy, if I do say so myself. Mandy just shakes her head at me. All right. Well, coming up, we are going to check your feedback. We're also going to learn the secrets of Married at First Sight. Yeah. Have you seen these TikTok videos? An ex-Married at First Sight post-producer has been revealing all, and she's going to share with me what goes on in the editing suite of Married at First Sight, from the Frankenstein edits to all the tricks they use. And so I'm sure we're bound to learn a thing or two. All that and more. And I'm sure we'll fit in a back-end quickie too. But first, let's have our random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
Tonight's random live shot of the day comes from the summit of Manakua in Hawaii. It's a land of deep cultural, natural and ecological significance to the people, the native Hawaiian people. What you're looking at is a live western view of the night sky. Doesn't it look beautiful? It's streamed in real time from one of the most important astronomical sites on Earth, made possible through cooperation with the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope. Now, in this view, you can actually see some of the world's most powerful telescopes. So, going from left to right, we've got NASA's Infrared Telescope Facility, the WM Keck Observatory, home to Keck 1 and Keck 2, and the Subaru Telescope, operated by Japan's National Astronomical Observatory. Now, down in the lower left of the shot, you can also see the submillimeter array alongside the James Clerk Maxwell Telescope. That's all lovely. I just really liked the view. It's a lovely site over in Hawaii right now. We're going to have to take the kids back there one day, Amanda, when we can get a few shekels together with people start buying the McKnight Tonight merch, maybe. I'm waiting for you to switch back to there you go. I tell you what, that shot actually looks like the McKnight Tonight background, doesn't it? Maybe we should just have that as the McKnight Tonight background. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. Jeanette says, cheers, team. 1 Bailey's in my new back-end quickie mug. Yes, Jeanette has one of the back-end quickies because I love me a back-end quickie. And our next guest is going, what the hell is that? The back-end quickie is a segment at the end of the show. It's the back end of the show, and it's a quick segment. It all makes sense, Alex. Okay, don't freak out. So Beck says, so you're drinking a mug out of Rob's eye. No. Beck, what are you doing? All right, we've got this one from Gareth. He says, I fully support facial recognition technology for retail shops. Most of us have seen people stealing from shops and running out in the past few years. I absolutely agree, Gareth. So that is a very good bit of feedback. Happy Tipsy Thursday. Or on the menu tonight is Isabel Estate Single Vineyard Sauv Blanc White Wine. Oh, Clint, that's a very nice one. Sorry, we're having a technical problem here, and I've just realised, you might as well show them, Amanda. I've hit a button, and I'm saying to Amanda, I'm pointing at the background like this, and she's saying, I can't fix it. It's because the monitor has done something. I could have tried to do it subtly, but that's not our style here at McKnight Tonight. We tell you everything. All right, it's fixed now, Amanda. We're live. That's what live does. Jeanette says, totally agree, Rob. I don't care either, because not only do staff keep staff safe, but also customers. If you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't be worried. That's absolutely right, Jeanette. Over the page we go. O'Neill Crazy says, my boss has security cameras in my workplace. What? If he's ever at home during the day, he'll use them to spy on her. Jesus. I know some workplaces have cameras, but going that far, Jesus. On the topic of the coalition with Pauline Hanson, Jimmy says, please explain David Littleproud. He did not want to answer that question, did he? Laura Jays did a very good job there. Clint says, the Rob's Rant graphic needs an update with a McKnight Tonight mug. Where do I get one, Rob? Clint, you don't know where to get a new McKnight Tonight mug? McKnightTonight.myshopify.com. That's where you go to get your own McKnight Tonight mug. Thank you, Clint. I don't know if he was just giving us the opportunity to do a plug, but we'll take it. Gareth says, on a serious topic about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rob, get a doctor or a health expert on, as you are stirring up distrust. Many vaccines don't stop you getting ill, especially flu-related ones like COVID, but they always help minimise the impact. Yeah, look, I get that, Gareth, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, okay? But my point is that with COVID, I felt like it was rushed through, and they were promising, before we actually got the vaccine, they were basically saying, take this and you won't get COVID, and we know that wasn't the fact. They were making it up as they went along. But having said that, as I said with Marjorie Taylor Greene, facts beat feelings, and when we've got hard scientific data about how measles vaccines work, we have to trust the data. Matt says, science also told us the ozone layer was failing 50 years ago. More utter garbage from the left. All right, Matt. You and I agree on a lot, but yeah, I don't know. Beck says vaccines are not linked to autism. I am getting more and more frustrated with that rhetoric. Yes, absolutely, Beck. And we've got this one. Johnny Boy says, another boring episode. Yeah, we get it. Privacy, PC, politics, all preaching to the choir. Topics, yawn, soft Rob. Back to the television topics. Talk, MAFS, hot seat, news shows. Johnny Boy, you know what? Have you not realised that Monday, Wednesday and Thursday we talk hot topics right here on McKnight Tonight? The media stuff is on Tuesday nights. But what I find fascinating, Johnny Boy, is that you sent the same complaint last night, but you came back for more. So keep watching, keep complaining. We don't know. But I'll tell you what I'll do for you, Johnny Boy. How about we peek behind the curtains of Married at First Sight and we find out what's really going on? Let's do that in our feature interview.
McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Well, the new season of Married at First Sight has started, and yes, it's another ratings triumph for 9. One of the ongoing talking points, though, when it comes to reality TV like MAFS, is the amount of manipulation behind the scenes. Well, now a former producer of the show is spilling the beans on TikTok and Instagram, with her videos getting hundreds of thousands of views. So let's find out what secrets she can reveal to us. Alex Fennell, welcome to McKnight Tonight.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and happy Tipsy Thursday to you. I know you've got your drink, so well done.
Very MAFS coded.
Yeah, how was tonight's episode?
It was good. It wasn't completely dramatic, but we did start to see an interesting side to Beck, which I don't think we've seen yet. So she started to probably show a little bit of her trauma, a little bit of just a little bit of insecurity, and it did start to plant a seed of what I suspect might come to fruition throughout the season.
Okay, because you were a post-producer on MAFS. Explain the difference between a producer who's on set while the show's being filmed and a producer working in the edit of the show.
So we are just basically given all of the footage, the raw footage with no real direction. We just have to watch it all from start to finish, 70 hours of footage. And then from that, we sort of decide what is the most compelling, interesting, emotional, emotive, hilarious, strongest narrative. And that is the direction that the edit will take. But there's 80 hours worth of footage that we have to sift through. And that's what a post-producer does. So we don't know the contestants. We don't meet them. So we're not really kind of swayed by how they might appear in real life. We just see what they're like when the camera's rolling.
Is the executive producer saying, this is Rob, he's a villain, this is Amanda, we like her?
No, the footage really speaks for itself. So there's an executive.
So is the villain edit not a thing?
The villain edit, I will stand by this forever, is led by the person's characteristics. Like there is just no world that exists where we would create this like villain out of this pure, nice, lovely person. It's led by their behavior, their reactions, and the way they treat their partner or the people they're in the experiment with.
No, I understand that, but people have been protected in the edit, past participants, yes, haven't they?
I think more than but that's not the villain edit. So
No, I understand that. No, but what I'm saying is that there have been participants who have done pretty shocking things during the shoot, but they've been protected in the edit.
Oh, I've worked on 2 seasons, and in my season, it was not that somebody did extreme shocking things that they were protected by or protected from. It was more that the villain edit was a more accurate reflection of the way they really were, and then comparatively the other people just sort of paled in comparison, and so maybe some of their scenes were like pulled back a bit.
And what were the seasons you worked on?
The iconic Olivia and Dom season.
Oh, great season.
Yeah, and then the one after that with Claire and Jesse, Evelyn and Rupert, Alyssa and Duncan that season. Season 10 and season 11.
Gotcha. Okay, we've heard about the Frankenstein edit, where different sentences are strung together. Tell me about that process. Are you trying to make participants say something they haven't said? Are you trying to make it shorter? What's going on there?
We're trying to clarify because people speak in riddles most of the time, right? So it's hard to kind of get a clear answer when you're interviewing someone, they're tired, they're whatever. It's the oldest trick in the book. It's happened, it's a big part of documentary editing as well. It's kind of just at its base core, it's just to clarify the story, amplify the story. Of course, then there are instances where it gets a little bit, I don't know, maybe taken to more of that salacious level, which is what the contestants probably talk about. But the general thing that we are aiming to do is just clarify a story that we are following. And the story we are following is not...
but here, let me put it to you.
Yeah,
right?
I'll take it. Rob.
I have heard edits on that show where the intonations are completely different. So I assume correct.
Like to say.
I assume you're working off a transcript, right? When you're going through everything. Yep. So you get a transcript of all the raw videotapes and everything that's been said, and you go through and piece it together. And that's why intonations may not sometimes work. So there is definitely, and I remember, I'm sure it was Married at First Sight, and I'm trying to find this footage where they made a mistake and had coloured lights changing. There was a conversation taking place, and every time the camera changed angles, the lights were a different colour and not naturally changing and it showed you how much is edited in those conversations.
But I put it to you, Rob, what if the conversation went on for 4 hours?
Sure.
And the beginning of the conversation, they spoke about the topic, and then like 50 minutes in, they also spoke about that original topic. We just have to condense the conversation to make sense, but conversations do not work in a linear way that is fit for TV, unedited. And so a lot of those things, continuity and things like that in on and of itself does not mean that it's completely out of context and it's all just manipulated and sensationalized. That continuity point in and of itself is not always salacious. Sometimes it's just as simple as they're talking about the topic, they get off track on the topic, just like all conversations go when you're fighting with your partner and you're in a hectic experiment. And so it's like, let's get them back on topic. Then they're back on topic. Maybe the sun's gone down. It's still the same topic. You're just going to cut out the middle part. And so
I get that. I get that. So are you saying that all the criticism thrown at Married at First Sight when it comes to the editing is not warranted?
I'm not saying all. I'm saying there's a balance. It's not all this and it's not all that.
Sure.
And I think that's hard for people to grapple with. But generally speaking, what you'll find is the contestants who are kind of portrayed to be good, so to speak, most of them will come out and say, yeah, that's a pretty accurate reflection of the way these people were. And so I do get a little bit of a bee in my bonnet when disgruntled participants come out and they're like, that's not the way it was. It's like, okay, yeah, but the sentiment of your behaviour and your intention was encapsulated by the edit.
I've always defended the show in that regards that, well, you still said those words, right? And I have been defensive of the way the show is put together. If you're having a meltdown and they'll say, yeah, but it went for 8 hours. Yeah, but you still had that meltdown. So I'm with you on that, right?
Yeah.
But we're starting to hear a lot of stories about people being taken out of context or, two different things put together. Look, at this time of year, everyone gets on the MAFS bandwagon. People want to have their say. There's been some videos from ex-contestants. I want to play you 2 grabs back to back and then get your reaction, okay, from previous Married at First Sight contestants. Let's have a look.
Hey guys, just your yearly reminder that MAFS isn't real. Also, don't believe anything producers say. They're pushing an agenda. They nearly always come out around this time of year and say their classic line, which is something like, we just hold a mirror up to participants and they don't like the reflection, they can't take accountability, blah, 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 blah. Our edits are fair, our edits are accurate. That's nearly what they say every single year, because they need you to believe the story that they're pushing. They have an agenda. The more that the audience believes the story, the more they're going to watch and be invested and engage with the content, which makes them money.
The head producer comes out and she goes, how are you guys going? And we're like, oh, we're having a great time. Like, this is awesome. Like, we're sleep deprived and drunk too much and it's late and we want to go home, but, you know, we're fine. She's like, well, I'm bored and Australia's going to be bored. Like, what do you think you guys are here to do? We're here to make TV and this is boring and you guys are not leaving until something exciting happens.
Now, in fairness, I once did use that line, we're here to make television, when I was ranting and raving when I was running Studio 10. So I can't be a hypocrite. Give me your reaction.
Okay, so Samantha, I agree with her on that. She is, she's giving an accurate depiction of what would happen at the dinner party. That's 100% bang on. Of course that is what would happen. I'm not on set, but like ultimately they are there to make television. And that's exactly what they're doing. And so if they're all just sitting around not talking about anything and being awkward, the producers are there to bring the things that are existing, the unspoken elephants in the room, out, so to speak. So I agree with Samantha. Olivia, on the other hand, I think, so that video was in direct response to one of my videos that I posted.
Oh, was it? Sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that Olivia posted that in direct response to my video. And I posted a video on TikTok explaining in a very fair, reasonable, balanced way, in a very kind way and compassionate way as well, about how I was there during Olivia's season and I witnessed all of her footage unedited, and that her depiction on air was an accurate portrayal of her. Olivia has a lot of sensitivities, I would say, and Olivia has, in my opinion, gone on to continue to double down on her perspective, despite multiple media professionals disagreeing with her, despite the majority of cast members that also disagree with her. In fact, I don't really think that there's anybody that agrees with Olivia when it comes to her edit. And so it is a little bit perplexing that despite all of this, Olivia, all these years later, still claims that she was gaslit and all these things. And so it's easy when you don't work in TV to just lump producers in this category of having like power and whatever. I have no attachment to being a reality TV producer anymore, and I haven't for years. In the last few years, I've worked in factual, I've worked in news, which was my original background. So I'm a journalist. I subscribe to a code of ethics. I'm a trained journalist. I have 15 years of media experience. I studied journalism. I've worked for the most reputable journalism news outlets in Australia. And I'm telling you that Olivia is her perception of her experience. Of course, that's her experience. But I would question her 15 minutes of fame and perception versus my 15 years.
It is interesting. I mean, she did out Dom quite happily about being on OnlyFans, and that spoke volumes to me. You couldn't make that up. She certainly went and found that information and used it against Dom. And there was a lot of gaslighting. I mean, we do see things, but
it was mean girl behaviour. It was mean girl behaviour.
Yeah.
And Olivia just never really was able to take accountability for that, and never has. She's never taken accountability for that, and she has taken it to an extreme level. And now she's accusing me of being an alleged producer because she doesn't understand. She doesn't understand the difference between field and post, which therein lies the conundrum of trusting Olivia. She does not even understand the fundamental difference between a field producer and a post producer. And so she went in the beginning of that video or another video, she literally called me an alleged producer. So I had to offer my receipts which was my deal memos, my contracts, my 15 years of experience working at Sunrise, The Project, Home and Away, Neighbours, Married at First Sight, MasterChef. And so I guess fundamentally, I have a sense of justice and truth, to be honest. That's why I'm a journalist. And I have really struggled to watch the disgruntled contestants going out there completely untamed, and just because most producers just toe the line, they don't show their face, they're just like, let them be. But they're just often, in my opinion, not accurately representing the truth. And sorry,
Okay.
I just don't want to let it go.
I understand all that, but here's the thing. I haven't worked in reality TV, but the closest of the kind of manipulation that I can think of in my career, when I was doing promos, I made a promo for a current affair, and it was a story that had a bit of an emotion. I was making the promo. We didn't have tears, but there was one moment where the person being interviewed scratched their eye, and I slowed it down to make it look like they were crying. Okay, so that is a manipulation of what the person didn't do. I've owned up to that. I've talked about it. But what are the tricks you guys are using in the edit suite to tell your stories?
So I think the main one, promos are classic for that. Everybody knows that. Promos are classic for that. And yes, bless you. But the thing that I would say more than the Frankens is the reaction shots, the out of context reaction shots and facial expressions is, to me, the classic technique.
So someone's saying something, and in the room it may not have had that much of a reaction, but you're taking a shot from maybe an hour later. Like I'm specifically thinking of the when they're on the couch, and you're taking a reaction that's completely not related to what was just said in the edit.
To make it land, because it might be something like the rest of the cast might not even be they might be distracted. So it's just to make it land in the same way that the music swells, to denote to the audience that this is a significant moment. The music tells the audience how to feel before they know how to feel. That is just television 101. Is that manipulative? Yes, but that is entertainment. You're manipulating audiences' emotions to get a reaction. That is just quintessential entertainment 101. MAFS isn't a documentary. It's not National Geographic. We're not David Attenborough. It's a mainstream Channel 9 show that is it's meant to be entertaining. And it's it's chaotic. That is it at its fundamental base. And whether you agree with that, of whether that's good for society or not saying I necessarily agree with that. I only did it for 2 years. I haven't worked in it for years, but it was fun. I still love it. We are talking about it. It says something, And so that's, I think, important for shows to exist, that I don't want to use Olivia's words and hold a mirror up to society, but it gets people talking. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. I'm not the arbitrator of morality.
There is a lot of concern, though, about how things are shot on set. I know you weren't there, but you've had access to the raw tapes. Some claims that have been made are pretty serious about people being held in their rooms. They feel like they've been kidnapped. Has there ever been anything you've seen in the raw tapes that didn't necessarily get to air that you thought, wow, that's crossing a line?
No, and I think I've never seen it, not saying it didn't happen, but I think this is the fundamental issue. People who haven't worked in television do not understand the concept of a call time. They don't understand the concept of an AD. They don't understand the concept of any of that. People who have worked...
No, but there's a difference when you've been held in a shoot for 18 hours, you've been plastered with alcohol, and you're there until the early hours of the morning told you can't leave, because if you break your contract, we will sue you.
That does sound quite awful, and I feel like if that behaviour exists, which if the cast say it exists, then I would probably err on the side of believing them, because I do believe, I've heard it enough times to think that, yes, perhaps that is true. That is not good, obviously, and yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I don't work for Married at First Sight anymore, and it just sounds like a terrible experience. But also, Rob, how long have you worked in showbiz? Have you ever had, 15-hour call days and been treated like crap by the EP? I have.
Well, that's true.
And
but people who work in television are sort of like gluttons for punishment.
Yes.
And these people don't know what they're getting into.
That's an element of it. That's an element of it. And I think, if you've worked in TV a little bit, it's normalized. So just like any kind of bad behavior is insidious, and it kind of just, people who work in TV, they don't know that it's bad. And it's taken me leaving TV to realize how awful it really is. But the show must go on at all times, and we're climbing and we're trying to get our name out there, or we're trying to get something happening. And so you and I, if we sat down and had a few drinks, we would have probably more horrific stories than anything the MAFS cast has ever gone through. But we're still here, true believers.
This is why I'm on the drink.
Literally, same.
Now, you have launched a very successful TikTok page where you are spilling your secrets. Haven't you signed an NDA? How are you allowed to talk about this stuff?
So, define allowed.
Sorry, say that again.
Define allowed to talk about these things. I don't have permission.
Is there a problem with what you're saying?
I haven't heard anything. I don't want to provoke the beast, but currently I haven't heard anything. So I'm just...
Well, do you think you're painting the show in a positive or negative light?
I think sometimes I out some secrets about the show. And I think if you listen to my podcast, I talk quite openly about the insidious, toxic nature of the production company.
Okay, so give me something, because I haven't listened to the podcast, and tell us where we can find the podcast.
It's called That
What are
Show
some of the
You
things
Say.
you're talking about?
So I talk all about so the thing that drove me to start the podcast was basically coming out of 15 years in television. It was my first job out of uni was at Neighbours. And because of that, I've had, dreams that I have then been wrung dry from and just had my spirits crushed. But I still love entertainment and TV. And so that dichotomy is that showbiz, baby. And that's what the podcast is about. So it's with Geordie Lucas, who played Summer Hoyland on Neighbours, and we met when we were younger. And so she's an actress, I'm a producer, and we basically just talk about, in a tongue-in-cheek way, the insidious, awful nature of showbiz, but we still love it. And so...
Well, we do love it. I want to ask you a serious question. Do you think people who work on reality TV shows are moral people?
I think that if you were to do it long term, there would be a little bit of... I can't speak for everybody, because the people that I know that worked on it was a means to an end. And Endemol Shine has great taste in taking the most talented people in Australia, much like advertising, and wringing us dry, taking us for all we're worth, and then promising us the world. But at the end of the day, you are really just creating reality TV. So in terms of I cannot, and I don't think any human should purport to be able to make a claim over the morality of hundreds and hundreds of people. This show has been going for a decade, and it's had thousands of people come through those doors. I cannot purport to decide whether they're moral or not, but I will admit that it is an ethical conundrum. It's as all media is. Every single thing you do in media, you're always deciding ratings versus the human. That is the fundamental crux that we deal with as journalists, as producers, as writers, as anybody. We're always dealing with, if it bleeds, it leads. That's what we're taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're always dealing with that conundrum. And I can see how after years of working in TV and you're trying to pay your bills, MAFS pays pretty well. it's pretty popular. If you can do maths, you can do anything. It's really just normal humans who got into the business because they had a passion, they had a dream, and they're skilled and talented, and they're just trying to make ends meet. They're trying to just get to the end of it, you know? So in terms of like thinking that these producers are these awful, satanic people, maybe the people at the top do have questionable morality, to be honest, because I probably couldn't sleep at night thinking this was like my main achievement in life. To me, it was like it wasn't a stepping stone, but it was an era, because I wanted to know, because I was a fan. And I think there's a lot of producers like me who are just, it's an era, it's offered to you. You want to know, like, it's like a car crash, right? You're like, you know, you shouldn't look, but you want to. And if somebody offers you a job on Married at First Sight and they pay you well and you're going to learn all
it's the pinnacle, yeah.
You're going to do it. And then it's like, how long do you stay though? So I lasted 2 seasons and then I was like, probably enough for me. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Alex, thank you so much for your insights. The podcast must be fascinating, but I know that you are at Alexandria Fennell on TikTok and Instagram. So from there we can find your podcast. Alex, thank you so much for joining us on McKnight Tonight.
Thank you so much, Rob.
The best place to watch McKnight Tonight is on YouTube. Help us monetize the show by going to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. And you can always become a paid member. That gives you exclusive live streams and early access to videos. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight.
Geez, we're getting late, aren't we? Let's have a back-end quickie.
It's time for a back-end quickie.
Now, I guess we always wonder, what would we do in a situation where someone was doing the wrong thing? Would we step back and just let it happen? Or would we get in there? Well, our grandma has shown us what we should be doing.
You gonna pay for that? Huh? You gonna pay for that?
Yeah.
When?
Huh?
You gonna pay for it?
Excuse me.
God
damn.
Come on, bud. Come on.
Get out.
Come on.
Get out.
Take your go.
And he left with nothing. How good is that? All right, let's get some feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. And we've got this one. I love this chick. I think I saw her on TikTok. Beck, I'm sure you did. Yeah, she's very interesting. Philip says, if you watched how television was made 60 years ago, my lasting impression was, this is totally fake. 60 years later, nothing has changed. Actually, we are at the 70th anniversary of television this year. So, yeah, 60 years was almost 10 years ago. We've got this one coming through. Film and TV crew get paid double time after 10 hours, then triple time after 12 hours. They also get a 10-hour turnaround. It's not the same as a bunch of civilians getting paid $500 a week or whatever. Disappointment archive. That's actually a really, really good point. I genuinely wish I'd thought of that. Johnny Boy, oh, here we go. Johnny Boy, yes, Rob, freaking fantastic. Thank you for conducting an entertaining interview, unwavering, and your questions prompted truth while challenging her. You just made worthy content. See you next Tuesday. I guess he's not a fan of McKnight Tonight, but he likes Media McKnight. I'm happy if he just joins us for Tuesdays. Leo says, I'm so glad I no longer watched MAFS. The last season I watched was 2021. It rates through the roof, but it rots your brain, lol. Clint says, MAFS is such a contradiction to Australia. Here we are needing to support women going through DV situations with men, but it is perfectly acceptable for 1 million plus viewers to watch men verbally belittling women. Yeah. I got nothing on that, Clint. Good point. We've got this one. Radio notes, transcripts cannot be trusted for emotions. Glad never going to watch a minute of this show. Yeah, I don't think you can get the full story from a transcript. I agree with that. We've got this one from Own You're Crazy. What experiment? The only experiment I believe is being undertaken by MAFS is how far into the sewer Australian television can be dragged. Very good point, Own You're Crazy. And one more from Beck. Let's finish with Beck. Something I want to quickly mention would be the Assembly. We were given so much mental health support and offers of mental health support even after the show went to air. Well, that's really good to see from the ABC. I'm really pleased to hear that, Beck. All right, that brings us to the end of Tipsy Thursday on McKnight Tonight. We will be back on Monday at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Media McKnight continues on Tuesday. And then it's McKnight Tonight on Wednesday and Thursday. Sorry, I just needed to get my hat for the good nights. Don't forget to go to mcknighttonight.myshopify.com. Get your merch. Get your merch. We'll see you next week as you get your merch on McKnight Tonight. See you next week.
Fun, insightful interviews from a washed-up producer with nothing to lose.